Welcome to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs, the podcast that dives deep into the stories of trailblazers who shape our world. Our co-host, Lulu Benavidez, is a seasoned entrepreneur in the beauty industry, is a photographer, artist, and the proud owner of Lulu's The Salon in Galveston, Texas. Our other co-host, Sue Hansen, is a visionary in the entrepreneurial world with years of experience in business innovation and development. Together, they bring you insights, inspiration, and the journeys of remarkable individuals who have made their mark. And with that, let's get started. Morgan Chaffin is an elite endurance coach, former pro triathlete, and decorated gravel cyclist with a background in exercise science and physical therapy. Her journey into endurance sports began in high school, but it was a loss of her father that became a true turning point. Once known as Chimney Chaffin for her smoking habit, Morgan quit cold turkey and turned to fitness as a way to heal. She earned her Associates of Applied Science in Physical Therapy and a Master's in Exercise Science from the University of Nebraska, Omaha, where she published research on female athletes and cycling performance. In 2022, Morgan was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which only deepened her dedication to strategic training, nutrition, and performance. From 2010 to 2020, Morgan raced professionally in triathlons, including a trip to Kona for the Ironman World Championships, where she posted the second fastest bike split in her age group. Since 2021, she's dominated the gravel cycling scene, winning the Gravel World 75 in 2023 and 2024, Gravel Locos 100, and the overall winner of the Unbound 50, and setting a course record at Dirty South Roubaix. She also placed second overall in the 12-mile swim around Key West, averaging a pace of 1:25 per 100 meters. Today, Morgan coaches athletes aged 32 to 73, leads master swim classes at Whole Health and Fitness in Bentonville, Arkansas, and has guided athletes to the Ironman and 70.3 World Championships and the Boston Marathon. She writes swim workouts for the U.S. Master Swimming and recently developed training plans to help swimmers break key time barriers. Morgan is also a co-owner of Maxium, an advanced AI health and performance platform. Outside of training, she enjoys time with her boyfriend Patrick and their 3 rescue pups, Pedal, Rookie, and Velo. Please, let's all welcome in the fantastic Morgan Chaffin.
Hey, Morgan, how are you?
Good. It's nice to see you again. It's been a long time, so.
I know. Well, I first met you, you said what, back in 2012?
I think it was around then.
Anyway, I used to host triathletes here in my house, and you were one of the triathletes here in Galveston. And at that time, you know, triathlete, well, did the running, did the swimming, and did the biking. Now you're doing just biking and coaching. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I do mainly gravel cycling now.
Wow. So can you talk about what your transformation, because you look totally different from 2012 to now. And I have followed you through Instagram and through Facebook, and you have a company called Chimney Chaffin. Is that your last name?
Well, that was my nickname.
That was your nickname?
Like back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you were chubby, weren't you?
Yeah. Yep.
And so can you tell me a little bit about your journey and the breakthrough you had going from being a triathlete to gravel cycling?
Yeah. So I think, I don't know if it was like a breakthrough moment necessarily, but just like through my triathlon career, trying to compete at such a high level, I had a lot of running injuries and I could never really get that. I had some great coaches too. I could never really get it dialed in to, even if my nutrition was great, my training, like my parameters were good. I just couldn't seem to get that, the running like maintained where it needed to be to compete at a high level. And, I remember, I was living in Omaha, Nebraska at the time, and like gravel cycling had started becoming big and they had gravel bikes. And my bike sponsor at that time was like, well, why don't you just like test one out, and see how you like it? And I was like, well, yeah, I could get this as cross training, gravel bike, because you're out, in the sticks or whatever, and you're off the main roads, and it's just a little bit more friendly, as far as traffic and stuff. And so I ended up getting one and really enjoyed it, like really loved just being out on the gravel and, seeing different things going by farms and the cornfields. And I just really took to that. And so, yeah, I just kind of was like, well, triathlon isn't really going as well as I wanted it to. And I had always had a fairly strong cycling background. And so, yeah, I just put the triathlon gear away and started focusing just on the gravel cycling. So, yeah.
We do quite a bit of interviews, and one of the things that all the interviewers have in common is they love what they do. So it's very obvious that you found a passion in gravel cycling more so than being a triathlete.
Yeah.
And you started this because you also witnessed your father passing away, and that kind of shaped your whole relationship to sports. Is that correct? So
Yeah.
can you tell the audience just about your father passing away and how it changed your life and how you got into sports?
Yeah. So my father passed away when I was 15, and going back to like the Chimney Chaffin nickname is I was overweight. I think at one point I was probably 230 pounds
Wow.
in high school, and I was smoking about a half pack of cigarettes a day. So that's how I got the nickname Chimney Chaffin. And my father didn't lead a very healthy lifestyle, in which, what do you do at that point? Like now I'm like, I would go back. I wish I could have educated him and everything, but it kind of really opened my eyes when he passed, because I was kind of leading down the same path. He passed from a brain aneurysm. He had very high blood pressure at the time. And, I knew like, well, I'm going to have to do something about my lifestyle. And so we had a lake where I lived, and I just started walking for fitness. And then I was like, well, maybe I should try running. So this lake was about, I think it was maybe 3 miles around it. But then I like timing myself running and seeing how far I could get at, different segments and different time points. So it just started becoming like more motivating to me to kind of see where I could get. And then, I just kind of started learning about health and started doing like strength training. And so I kind of took it from there in high school. And then, then I ended up getting a road bike as just a means of cross training from running. And that's kind of how I started doing triathlon. I started just putting all three together. I had swam a little bit when I was younger, and I took to swimming pretty well. And so, then I just kind of went with triathlon for a while.
So, it's not funny, but you talked about, you were smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. Is that correct?
Yeah, about a half.
About a half. I always, the triathletes that have stayed at my house, I always follow, love their journey, where they've been and what, and the stories that they tell me. And some of them, they started smoking, and then they found either running or biking or swimming or all three of them a way to release that bad habit. And it's obvious you did. But also, why don't you tell the audience about the Crohn disease that you have and how you change the approach of nutrition in your lifestyle?
Yeah, so I was actually diagnosed with Crohn's in 2022. Usually you're diagnosed, at a younger age. There's a little bit of prevalence of it in my family history, and I got COVID pretty bad, and they think that my body like had such a high immune response to COVID that it brought out Crohn's. So I probably otherwise wouldn't have ever got Crohn's if COVID wouldn't have came about. But yeah, it was kind of interesting because I've read some other research on rheumatoid arthritis and that kind of happening as well. So I haven't. I haven't really had to change a ton, like in my diet. Like I can't eat like raw vegetables. I can't consume a lot of nuts, but there is stuff I've had to do with like on the bike nutrition. Um, since I've had Crohn's, to make to make it more easily digestible. On the bikes, I try to train my gut to have, like when I'm doing my training rides, I'll try and train my body to be able to consume like solid foods
Mm-hmm.
on the bike. But when I'm racing and like going at higher intensities and asking my body to push a little more and trying to get in, more fuel, I will have to I only usually do liquid and gels just because that stuff's so easily digestible, and I have to use certain products work better for me than others. And so I've kind of tracked that using like a blood glucose monitor too, to kind of see those changes, and kind of finding what works best. But usually with my Crohn's, like stress is usually what brings on like an issue or a flare. Like if I have high stress, it usually can trigger something.
Mm-hmm.
So like this last race I did, I was under a little bit of stress going into it in North Dakota, and I actually got a flare like a couple days before the race, and I have one medication that usually can really help me. But I've been doing so well that I didn't take it to North Dakota with me, of course. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was in North Dakota and ended up, finding an MD there actually, and ended up getting my medication there, so that I was able to get some help leading into the race. But it's always just kind of balancing it. And yeah, you can't really prevent it, I guess, even by diet, things that trigger it, and then you have to deal with it.
So, what exactly is Crohn's disease? Is it a digestive issue?
Yeah, so it's like kind of an inflammatory disease in
Uh-huh.
the GI tract. Yeah, I mean, you can keep it at bay, and obviously, medication, for keeping that at bay is huge. And my case is mild to moderate, so I'm lucky I can take like oral medication to keep it under control. But a lot of people will have to get infusions
Mm-hmm.
that are systemic. So, it's targeting your entire immune system. So I'm really hoping like I can, stay away from that. Obviously, if it got so bad, there's people that need to have like parts of their colon or small intestines removed because the Crohn's just, gets too severe. But so far mine has, been mild to moderate, and then I'm able to keep these flares like under control with medication.
So, are you taking medication now
Yeah,
for that? Yeah,
yeah,
orally.
yeah.
Back in 2020, I got shingles, and I went to have the shingle shot, and then I had the flu shot at the same time. Short story is I wind up being diagnosed with MS. So I have MS, and it's under control. There's just some things that I have to deal with, but it's a young person's disease, and it's an immune disease.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that how we come about finding out these things. You said you got COVID, and that's when you were diagnosed at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, short, like
Yeah.
a week after.
So it seems like everything came out of that COVID, did it?
I know.
So, and now I'm doing some infusions, which is the first time because my neurologist left. But anyway, it's been underbay. I still do things that I love doing, like this
Good.
podcast, and I do hair 3 days a week. I do get tired, but the thing is that no matter what you're afflicted with, did you find something that you love and you keep doing it? And that's
Yeah.
what you've done.
Yeah.
So you have raced so many races in your lifetime, and what is the hardest part mentally and physically that you endured during this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think, with going back to triathlon, I think like the hardest race I ever did was in Norway. The Norseman, I think it was just pretty grueling to like the conditions were rough and then the bike was very challenging and I ended up having like a mechanical, like my wheel exploded
Oh,
down a mountain. I was not used to riding, mountains and switchbacks. And then I had a front wheel that was like totally flat, like down a mountain. Luckily I was close to the finish and I was on the brakes too much. And thank gosh, there's different braking systems now, but I ended up like delaminating the rim. So there's no way of fixing the tire. But then the run, you finish up these boulders, like up this mountain, you have to run up these boulders. And I just remember watching like the Norwegians, like just like run up those, like they were gazelles. And and here's me like just stumbling up them and, just trying to finish. And I think I ended up being like the top American in that race. It was like the world champion X try. But I mean, like just those people that actually get to practice on that terrain and, it was just really like amazing to watch them. And yeah, I remember I just suffered and I'm like, why am I doing this? But then at the end, it was like, you did it. And it was like a beautiful area just to visit that country. Yeah. So that would probably be my like one and done, maybe.
I know that all athletes go through this mindset, like when you start running or biking or swimming, whatever you're doing, and when you're competing, the first thought that comes to your mind is, what the hell am I doing here? I think everybody goes through that. At the end of the road, at the end of the competition, you're glad you finished, number one. You're glad you placed, number two. And you're glad you won, number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause all the hard work that you've done in the past has gotten to where you're at today.
Hmm.
So can you tell the audience more about your training and actually what you do for your training? You have a bike, and so now you're doing biking and with gravel.
Hmm.
Before you were doing biking on the road, is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, when I was doing triathlon, it was just cycling on the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now you're doing cycling on the gravel. So
Mhm.
what's the difference? Can you tell
Yeah.
the audience?
So a lot of my miles are I mean, I still do some road riding and like intervals and stuff on the road. But a lot of my riding now is on like gravel, like the back roads, here in Bella Vista, Arkansas. Great for gravel. So it's really good practice here because the terrain is it's just rough and rocky. And so it kind of prepares you pretty much for anything you're going to take on in the gravel scene. So right now I'm probably riding like 300 to 500 miles a week. So my longest training ride lately was like 2 weeks ago. I did 140 miles here in Arkansas because I'm getting ready for Gravel Worlds, and that's August 20, in Nebraska. So that's like one of my bigger races. So I've been, training a lot of specific work, just for that, to handle that distance as far as, making sure my endurance is there, making sure my, power, is there relative to where I need to be. And then, really focusing on the nutrition aspects of it.
So how many miles is this race?
Gravel Worlds is 150 miles.
So you do 150 miles, and how long does it take you to do that?
We'll see. It really depends on, the day, the terrain, the wind. how hot it is. But probably like 8 to 9, anywhere 8 to 9 hour range would be like a goal for me.
Okay. So it's 8 to 9 hours. In that time, you're constantly on the bike.
Yeah.
You're constantly taking nutrition. You have trained for this event. So you know when it's time to do your nutrition, when it's time to drink, and when it's time to do all the things that you need to do within that 8 hours before you cross the finish line. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
8 hours. That's a long time on the bike. You don't stop.
Nope. You stop at the aid when you need aid. You'll stop quickly at the aid stations.
Uh-huh.
It's self-supported, so you can't just have someone hand you a feed or a bottle or something. You physically will have to stop and fill your bottle up. There might be support there that will help you do so, and then you can grab nutrition. They'll have gels and maybe some food available for you at the aid stations, but I usually rely on myself. I know it works for me, so I'll usually just carry what I need.
So you carry what you need, or you stop at the station, and it takes you X amount of minutes. So that adds on to your timing, correct?
Yeah. Yep. It's a sum of the whole time you're out there.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah.
So can you go through your typical day of, say, the night before your training? I mean, the night before your event, what it looks like as far as the nutrition and what you do, your rest, and then the day of the event, what it looks like. Can you tell the audience that?
Yeah. So usually like the night before will be something like pretty much a lot of carbs. I try not to like overdo it, but usually I'll do like 2 cups of rice, like 5 or 6 ounces of chicken. And then I'll do like some cooked zucchini and carrots. And then I'll use like some coconut aminos.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously I'll salt that food as well. That's pretty, I used that this last race and it worked really well. I feel like on my GI system, occasionally I would do like pizza, but I've kind of gotten away from that a little bit just because of the heavy fat with the cheese and stuff can kind of upset my GI system. So I felt like that's a really good go-to. As far as the race morning, I'll usually do some rice and 2 eggs as my fuel before the race. So I'll have usually that like 2.5 hours before the race, just with some salt as well. And then I'll usually sip on like an electrolyte mix. And then during the race, I have been doing like 90 to 100 grams of carbs an hour. So I'll set my bike computer to kind of warn me, give me a notification of when I need to eat and drink so that I'm consuming, that per hour. And obviously, you need to train yourself, train your GI system to be able to handle that amount of carbs. But there's a lot of research out there suggesting that carbs are king, so you have to fuel your body. So I'll do 90 grams of carbs per hour, and I'll mix that between like a sports drink mix and then gels.
Okay. Now, I know that you do a lot of coaching to all age groups. So do you find that in coaching these people that they're all different, or they're all the same?
Everyone's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you find the difference in each person you coach? Is there their nutrition, their endurance, or is it all of it? Or can you walk through that with me?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all encompassing. It's their history, it's their goals, their sleep patterns, it's obviously their physiology makeup. Some people have just their their muscle fiber type, so maybe they're better aerobic capacity. and then maybe there's fast twitch athletes who have, a better, you know, better ability to handle like VO2 max and threshold work. So I think it really depends. I mean, obviously you can train and then you train the athlete, based on their goals and, based on their physiology, but you train them for, you know, try to get them to adapt, to what they want to do and what they want to achieve. So yeah, I'm
So,
constantly, learning by all what you can track now. You can learn so much, about the athlete and, kind of what they need and what works for them and what doesn't.
so I guess in your consultation with the athlete, you find out number one, what their goals are, what they want to achieve, whether they want to cycle or they want to run or whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. You find out what the goals are, and then from their goals, you see their physical endurance, and then you adapt it to whatever that particular athlete needs, correct? Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah.
This is so interesting. So, can you tell me more about your work with what is it, Maximilian?
A Maxium.
Maxim.
Yeah. So it's an AI company. And so it's newer. So basically, it's like training, training based physiology, nutrition. So the AI, he reads all of your wearables. So like your training, your sleep,
Mm-hmm.
you can get all of the data points and like workouts, can plan, your nutrition based on your needs. So you log your nutrition as well. So basically you interact with this AI, with our AI, his name's Mac. And, you do an intake form so he understands your goals. But the more you interact with him, the better feedback he's able to provide you. So you can basically do anything from writing you training plans to helping you with weight loss, to helping you with weight maintenance, to helping you with your sleep. It's pretty incredible, like, what he knows. And it's been fun, like, kind of being able to help a little bit in the development of his brain to help, endurance, sport. It's really cool. Like, I just love interacting with him because it's quick because he can see like all the data points within like seconds.
Right,
So
right.
if I ask him like, hey Max, like I have this workout today, but I didn't sleep very well last night. Like, what do you think? What do you think
Mm-hmm.
you do? And he will say, well, like maybe you should do this for recovery instead. It's optimal. But if you start your workout and it's going well, you should go ahead and proceed. But maybe you do an interval and you're like, well, I didn't make that interval. So here's what you should do instead. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of neat how he can give you different scenarios to kind of work through as well.
Okay, so I use a lot of Chat GPT,
Yeah.
which is an AI. So do you have a prompt, or do you have an app on your phone or on the desktop, and you key in, like you said, I didn't sleep well last night and I have this event coming up the end of the week. What do you suggest? So do you prompt that AI of what you've done?
So
You key in some sats, like you only slept 4 hours instead of 8 hours, or you're real specific on what you telling Max, and then he spits out what you should be doing. Is that correct?
yeah. So we have an app, and so all of my data is he already knows
Right.
what I've done and then what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have an app, so it's already there, so he can prompt, yeah, based on that.
Now, do you do this for your coaching people, the people
We're
that you coach?
we're going to start integrating coaching at some point, but right now I'm
Okay.
just like coaching individual athletes, but I have used it a lot on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a couple athletes who actually use that Maxium on the side for like their nutrition. So they're using it as well and in getting some guidance, but I'm writing like the official training.
You know, I totally believe in AI, and because it makes your life, it doesn't take away from anybody. It makes your life a lot simpler because they get to know you as an athlete, or they get to know you as a person, and you just prompt, what you're going through that day, or, I do emails or I do whatever, and I use AI every day. And because the AI knows me well enough and knows my language and knows how I speak and knows, it uses my own words.
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And our goal isn't to take away from like coaches,
Mm-hmm.
but
Okay.
to help coaches,
Right.
because you can get like a coach this way can get prompts and get thousands of data points, but still design workouts for that athlete just based on some help and based on some analysis that Max can provide that maybe they don't have time to do. And
Exactly.
it just it would make them more efficient. So yeah, our goal is to integrate some coaching with that too.
Yeah. I know that I exercise and I have a personal trainer, and nothing takes away from that personal trainer, because that personal trainer will push you as an individual. Yeah, you can go to the AI and you can get all this, what exercises you should be doing. But to have that body next to you and pushing you as an individual, it's so helpful.
Yeah.
It's so helpful. So yeah, you can have what you should be doing, how many reps and then what exercises you should be doing. But to have an individual, an actual live person next to you that will push you, I think it's real important. So it doesn't take away. It doesn't take away. So what advice would you give someone that just started out on this physical journey?
Yeah, I think starting with baby steps, like having, small outcome goals, working to like a bigger goal. Because I think a lot of, just with like New Year's resolutions, like people start with these huge goals and then, they don't stick with it. And you just, I go back to my past, like I started, just to lose weight. When my father passed, I started with just walking like a mile,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I think people like have these, they're not necessarily unrealistic, but they're these huge goals that are like really, really hard to achieve. And that's fine, but maybe you break that into smaller goals.
Mm-hmm.
That's why what I tell my athletes, someone comes to me and like, well, I can't swim 25 meters, but I want to do an Ironman in 4 months. And I'm like, well, let's, you can eventually do the Ironman, but why don't we start with a sprint, you know, and get you to where you're comfortable swimming and working on your form and feeling comfortable in the water. And then, build up from there rather than start something that, fear, and then you're not getting there. So then your goal, just put your goal away.
Yeah. That's such great advice, is take baby steps,
Mm-hmm.
and to have somebody coach you along the way. This is your ultimate goal, is to do to be an Ironman, but you can't do it in 3 months or 2 months. Just taking baby steps is so important. I know so many athletes, and I know from myself when I did a triathlon in North Carolina. Well, shoot, I was practicing cycling on the seawall. Well, it's flat here in Texas. It's flat. Well, I went to North Carolina and it's hilly. So know where you're going to be at. So I was just so excited to see my friend, and didn't go see the site because I was so excited to see my friend. The first thing I did was left the transition area and I went down a hill. If you go down, you must come up. I didn't know that. Well, anyway, I was the last one the last one that came in. So yeah. So I'm living proof that have a coach tell you, go to the site that you're going to be, train for it. Don't think that you can do it. It was 15 miles. How hard is that? I could, but at any rate, it was an experience that I will not do again. But my husband had a wonderful picture of me and had two motorcycle policemen, a fire truck in the back, and an ambulance or whatever. And I was cycling. I mean, no one knew that I was the last one. No. I still had to run 2 miles. I still had to run. By that time, I could care less. Everybody was backing up. My poor friend was telling Frank, my husband, oh my God, is she okay? She says, oh, don't worry about her. She'll eventually come in. So, yes, baby steps are very important. So is there anything else you want to tell us about your cycling? You won the $3,000?
Oh, yeah, last weekend. It's such a cool area up in North Dakota. I hope that more people go up there and enjoy it. Because it's just it's a cool area. I think on the whole 100-mile course, maybe one car passed. Oh. I mean, it's just, and the gravel's so nice because there's not heavily, there's not a lot of heavy traffic on it. Yeah, it's really cool area too. I enjoy being up there and getting a break from the heat as well. I mean, I was wearing a sweatshirt up there every morning. And
what was the temperature like?
It was like in the a couple mornings it was in the 50s. But race day, like 80, it just really nice. It was great weather. Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you for winning first place.
Thank you.
So, Sue usually does this rapid fire questions. So since she couldn't get on, I'm going to do them. So, number 1, what's your favorite post-race snack?
I would say ice cream.
Ice cream? What kind of ice cream? Is it vanilla or chocolate? Or
I mean, it could be any.
As long as that's ice cream.
Dairy girl. Yeah, I mean, even just plain vanilla would hit the spot.
Oh, wow. Number 2, sunrise or sunset ride?
Definitely sunrise.
Sunrise.
Morning person.
Early morning. Number 3, who's faster? Pedal, Rookie, or Velo?
Oh, well, Velo for sure. She's got a lot of energy, but back in the day, I think Pedal would have gave her a run. Pedal's 15 now, so.
So can you tell us what ages are your 3 dogs?
So Pedal is 15, Key is 7, and Velo is 1.5.
So yeah, the younger one.
Oh yeah.
If you could race anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I think it would be Spain. Or there's a really cool gravel race in Iceland called the Rift. Huh? So yeah, I think either of those places would be cool.
And the last one word to describe how you feel when you're crossing the finish line.
I'd say empowered.
Empowered. Well, Morgan, you have empowered all of us.
Well, thanks.
To want to gravel cycle or do anything, It's been a pleasure with you today. I constantly watch you on Facebook and see what you've done. I know where you came from. In 2012, you stayed here at my house and you're a different person now. And now you're coaching and you're winning first place on the thing you love doing.
Yeah.
That's cycling.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thank you. And
yeah, so I'm on Facebook under Morgan Chaffin, or Instagram is Morgan Chaffin. I think my handle is Morgan E. Mm-hmm. My middle initial E, Chaffin.
Okay. All right. So please go check her out, see what she's doing, keep up with her, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, what an episode. That wraps up another exciting edition of Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're leaving inspired and ready to chase your dreams. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode over at youtube.com/Artists, Icons, Entrepreneurs, as well as Facebook at Lulu Benavidez, on IG at Lulu Benavidez, at Evolve Hair Solutions as well. And don't forget to visit our website at lulubenavidez.com and evolvehairsolutions.com to stay updated. Until next time, keep dreaming big, creating boldly, and making your mark on the world. Thanks for listening, and take care, everyone.